I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being with us. My name is Paul, and this is the intersection of conservative ideas and reality, where we are building a liberty machine. What a weekend it was. My goodness, what a weekend it was. Let me give you a show rundown real quick. We're going to check in with Dan Perkins, author Dan Perkins, political analyst, foreign policy analyst. The Republican Party looks like they have declared war. Well, this headline here, Fox News. GOP goes to war with Twitter over McConnell campaign account freeze. Now, that headline is like nothing compared to what we're dealing with right now, though, right? But we're going to be talking to Dan Perkins about that, and I got a feeling we're going to talk to Dan Perkins a little bit about Jeffrey Epstein, the death of Jeffrey Epstein. I refuse to tell you is like it's a fact that he killed himself and the media is losing their minds, by the way, because none of you are believing what they're telling you. It's hilarious. It is so funny to me. The media are losing their minds because you do not believe. People on the left, people on the right do not believe Jeffrey Epstein killed himself in a jail cell. They don't believe it. And the media can't stand it. That is satisfying to me in ways you can't possibly know. We also have some Arkansas news that is got to be talked about. There was an unsealing of documents surrounding John Woods and Rusty Cranford and we will get to that because the what is now being called the largest political scandal in Arkansas, I guess in the last 20 years, I think it might be the largest political scandal in Arkansas history, with senator after senator and lobbyist after lobbyist and healthcare provider after health, all of them involved in taking your taxpayer money and enriching themselves so that they get more taxpayer money. We're going to have to talk about this because I got to tell you, folks, I think it looks to me like John Woods wouldn't be in jail. And I think we kind of already knew this, but now we have the specific FBI interviews, the transcripts. If it wasn't for Jeremy Hutchinson, I don't even know if Rusty Cranford would be behind bars at this point. Why do you guys have all probably read it, most of you in this audience, because you guys are really sharp and you keep up with things. But definitely want to talk about that. Also, let's see, Senator Jason Rapert has, I'm sure his family's relieved. There was a guy who was essentially convicted of filing a false police report against Senator Rapert. Man found guilty of filing false police report. We'll talk about that as well. But let's get to it. We got a ton more to talk about as well. There's a guy in Arkansas that's been, arrested or charged with providing support. Arkansas resident charged with providing support to Al-Qaeda. That's crazy. We got all of that and much, much more. Also your meme of the day. But let's start where it's just obvious, okay? On Friday, and if those of you who subscribe to us, pay us $5 a month on Patreon, then you guys know this. On Friday, I did a video about the unsealing of documents. Briefly mention it. We were talking about the front page of ConduitNews.com on how big government politicians, don't like being scored by limited government groups That's up at conduitnews.com. But we briefly mentioned, hey, there was all these documents that had been unsealed surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, and there was something like a million documents set to be released, and there was thousands of them released on Friday before Jeffrey Epstein was found dead or reported dead. So I'm going through them, mostly going through them on Twitter, just because there's a lot of people who are already going through them and posting screenshots and summarizing what they say, and then you can go read them for yourself. And the first thing I noticed, by the way, which is not good for never-Trumpers and people who want to associate Trump with Jeffrey Epstein to the level equivalent of the association between Jeffrey Epstein and the Clintons, essentially, Bill Clinton. And that's just not the case. I mean, if you know anything about President Trump, he seems to say things. I know you think he might, fly off the cuff, and he does sometimes, but he can also say things very specifically. And in 2002, when he gives a backhanded compliment to Jeffrey Epstein and outs him as liking younger women, women on the young side, that was not something where Jeffrey Epstein read that and was like, oh, that's just my old buddy Don. No, that was fighting. Those were fighting words. Is what they were. And then then he gets thrown out of Mar-a-Lago in 2005. This was a giant, from what we can tell, a blackmail operation of some kind Jeffrey Epstein was running with these underage girls and children. And if you throw somebody out of a club and make public statements about them, I just don't think that they got anything on you. And that was confirmed, just so you know, in the documents that were dumped on Friday. Okay, Guthrie, who is the victim, the alleged victim, who was trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein. You can see in that record she is disagreeing with a Daily Mail reporter, reporting that she told the Daily Mail reporter that Donald Trump flirted with the girls and was there and da-da-da-da. And in the transcript, she's saying, no, I never said that to the reporter. There's damning stuff in there about Clinton that confirms what we know about Clinton, but as a matter of fact, she specifically says, no, Donald Trump did not flirt with me. No, Donald Trump did not participate in any of the sexual activities. Boom. It was right there. It barely made any headlines at all. Instead, they're circulating all these photos of Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump because they're both billionaires. I mean, how many times did Donald Trump fly on Jeffrey Epstein's plane that we know about? 0. How many times did Bill Clinton? 26 that we know about. 26 times. So, that's the first thing that happened on Friday. And I know you guys know all this. And then we wake up Saturday morning and we find out that Jeffrey Epstein had, quote, killed himself. He committed suicide in the Manhattan Corrections Unit, committed suicide. And and nobody believed it. Nobody. On the right, on the left, people in the middle, everybody said, oh, no, not at all. The day after, the documents implicate Bill Clinton even further. Clinton soldier, former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson. Also, do we have this? Can we throw the Daily Beast story up there? It's left of center outlet. No doubt about that. Jeffrey Epstein accuser names powerful men in alleged sex ring. And I'm going to get the full list of names here. Okay, so Ghislaine Maxwell. By the way, can you imagine this morning being Ghislaine Maxwell, who pimped and procured these women for Epstein? Can you imagine? Oh, I would not want to be her. Ghislaine Maxwell kept her as a sex slave. Let's see here. Here we go. New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson, Britain's Prince Andrew, wealthy financier Glenn Dubin, former Senator George Mitchell. Didn't Obama appoint George Mitchell from Maine to some sort of ambassadorship? Yeah, he's a former senator from Maine, but I think he was also appointed. Deceased MIT scientist Marvin Minsky, modeling agent Jean-Luc Brunel, as well as another prince, a foreign president, a well-known prime minister, which I think that's because we've already have previously mentions of Israeli prime minister being on the Epstein plane, and the owner of a large hotel chain in France. So, by the way, this idea of modeling, these girls were recruited as potential models, and then they get there and they really realize what they're there for. So, this is just the tip of the iceberg, ladies and gentlemen. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Joe, pull up this Twitter video. This is Mark Levin last night on Life, Liberty, and Levin on Fox News. And this hurt my soul. Listen to this.
What is the typical outcome?
Death.
Death.
The average lifespan of a child that's trafficked is 7 years.
7 years.
Because with it comes addiction, physical abuse, emotional abuse. Suicide rate is through the ceiling. Because how do you get out? And I hear people say, well, why don't they speak up? You see with something like the Me Too movement, women come 30 years after they've had a single rape, which is bad enough. Any abuse is unacceptable. But now think about a child that's 12 years old, which is the average in the United States. We lead the world with the youngest average. It's despicable.
The United States, more than any other country on the face of the earth, is
Life,
the worst,
liberty, and justice for all, right?
it's the worst perpetrator of sex trafficking of children?
Yes, and we've done such a good job, we've figured out how to commercialize it.
What does that mean?
In this country, on average, a child to a pimp will bring that pimp $200,000 to $250,000 a year tax-free. Now you have a real problem. A real problem. Because now, like I say, the demons come out. Because there's so many takers. So many that are innately in agreement with evil in this country.
You mean there's so many customers for
Yeah.
this sort of thing?
Absolutely.
Stop. Terrifying. Now, I previously reported a $150 billion a year industry. According to reports, that's what child sex trafficking is. That's the industry worldwide. It's probably much larger than that. I've also brought up the fact that folks under this administration, or the Trump administration, when he talks about border security, do you know what else he talks about? Human child sex trafficking. Yes, that's right. And the Democrats want to say putting a wall up is immoral. They're trying to take the moral high ground here. Yeah. Unbelievable. Let's keep going. Let's see here. Trump retweets conspiracy posts. You don't have this one. Just go full screen. Trump retweets conspiracy posts tying Clintons to Epstein's death. This has made the media go into a tailspin. Clinton's spokesperson said that Donald Trump should be removed from office by using the 25th Amendment. Donald Trump retweeted a comedian, really funny comedian, by the way. Let's see here. Trump appeared to disregard statements within his administration and said, retweeting a message from conservative actor and comedian Terrence Williams, who suggested that Epstein's death might be tied to former President Bill Clinton. So this is what's so funny. Immediately on Saturday, Clinton body count started trending. Did you see that, Joe? Hashtag Clinton body count started trending. And Twitter, and there's plenty of screenshots to back this up, Twitter decided to replace Clinton body count, the Clinton body count hashtag, and put the Trump body count hashtag in its place, even though that hashtag had far less mentions than everybody who immediately said, yeah, we think the Clintons killed this guy. You know? I mean, come on. How many more assaults with Clintons does this country have to endure before we have some Clinton control and we ban the Clintons? We ban assault Clintons. Ban assault Clintons now. These are just some of the hilarious memes that are going on the internet, and this, once again, is the reason why they have to censor this free exchange of ideas, and the intuition of the American people, they are not buying what the media is telling them happened in that jail cell. People think he either was Clinton's or killed or murdered, assassinated, or some people even think that the whole thing is staged, that he faked his death, that he might, who knows, he might be back on his island sipping Mai Tais with Bill and Hillary right now. Or there are even other theories about possible faked death that are out there. We are all conspiracy theorists now, aren't we? And there are and the never Trumpers, the anti-Trumpers, they what they want you to think is that Trump killed Epstein. Yeah, he didn't suicide himself. Trump killed him. Oh, really? Trump killed him the day after the documents exonerated the president from the picture that the media was trying to paint with him and Epstein. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. He doesn't have a reason. My goodness. What a fascinating day. Or a week. And I tell you, I was going kind of nuts too, because the only way I could actually follow this story is if I stayed next to an internet connection. Because Verizon Wireless, that's the carrier that I use, was down all across the state of Arkansas, all across, if you look at the downdetector.com, I mean, it was Nebraska, it was basically the entire middle and, northeast of the country. I mean, there were outages everywhere. And I was almost 12 hours I went without cell phone service. And that, as much as I missed it, really kind of actually bothered me, by the way. CBS News. The media right now, they can't say this. Go to CBS News. Jeffrey Epstein's death by apparent suicide inspires new conspiracy theories. Really? Are they new? They're not new. They're not new. You want to paint, I mean, look at how many people the media, how many people are waking up for the first time with this event? That's my question. I mean, how many people have never doubted what the media's told them until this moment? How many? There's probably going to be people you're going to run into that are going to be talking about this, and for the first time, they're doubting these people that they have been conditioned to trust, these news priests that absolve and condemn based on a rotating moral scale from one day to the next. Think about that. What do you think? Sound off, Facebook.com. Do you think Jeffrey Epstein, while he was on suicide watch, no. After the fact, though, well, we've done some digging, and apparently he wasn't on suicide watch. Oh, really? How convenient. That it was widely reported that he was on suicide watch after he tried to kill himself a couple of weeks ago. Some people thought he was assaulted, but it was widely reported he was on suicide watch. But now that he killed himself, he wasn't on suicide watch. To assume that this man was not under constant 24-hour surveillance. Oh, but wait, the New York Post is reporting that there is no video evidence of Jeffrey Epstein's suicide, not because the cameras malfunctioned, but because the cameras where he was being held only look at the outside of the jail cell, not the inside. Do you really believe that? Do you believe a high-profile man like Jeffrey Epstein was not under constant 24-hour video surveillance? If you don't believe that he was, I've got some beachfront property that I'd like for you to look at buying. We have to go to break. Facebook.com/Conduit News. Tell me what you think. Back in a minute. Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about Conduit for Commerce. Conduit for Commerce is an Arkansas-focused nonprofit organization which receives no government funding. Its core beliefs are economic freedom, individual liberty, and limited government. Conduit for Commerce believes those principles are foundational to all individual freedoms and promotes these principles by educating Arkansans and your elected state officials concerning good government policies that will create a better life for all Arkansans. These traditional conservative values have proven throughout history to lift people from poverty, achieve individual desire, and assist in the pursuit of happiness. Conduit for Commerce operates on the basic belief that these principles and ideals of the American founding are worth conserving and renewing at each generation, especially today. Conduit for Commerce accomplishes this work only through the support and interaction of small businesses as well as individuals. Conduit for Commerce thrives from like-minded Arkansans' participation and partnership. It's only through the support of folks like you that Conduit for Commerce is able to be the conduit to the Arkansas State Capitol. Help us continue as Arkansas's primary small business policy entrepreneur through your financial support. Join us by visiting conduitforcommerce.org. Once you're at the site, click Support Our Cause at the top of your screen. Your one-time or monthly donation will directly impact Conduit for Commerce's mission to promote liberty and economic freedom in Arkansas. Together, we can build a liberty machine. That's conduitforcommerce.org. I'm sitting here on the familycouncil.org website, and I've just been watching this abortion ticker. Abortions this year, worldwide it's going up, 24 million, 956, 57, 58. In the USA, 606,043. Arkansas, so far, abortions this year, 2,425. Joining us now to talk a little bit more about this and a report card is Jerry Cox, the president of the Family Council. Jerry, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. Great. I was just enjoying your Johnny Cash music there, man. They just don't make music like that anymore.
I know. He was so good at telling stories in his music too. There was a narrative.
You could just see the train going down the track.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Well, so tell us a little bit about not a scorecard, right? Well, when you and I were both presenting in front of the Faulkner County Tea Party, you did make that distinction that Family Council has a report card. Tell us about it.
Well, and one reason, and I know there's not a lot of difference, but I do like to point out the fact that this is a report card based on how lawmakers voted in the current legislative session. So
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is building a liberty machine. Find out more at conduitnews.com.
All right, folks, welcome back. 870-275-9799. If you want to call or text that number, 870-275-9799. Man. So, yeah, a few of your theories. No one's buying that he's dead. Matter of fact, we're not going to use this meme, but I just saw a great meme that it was a picture of Bigfoot riding the Loch Ness Monster. No, we're not going to use that one. It's a picture of Bigfoot riding the Loch Ness Monster, and that is more believable. That's more believable than the idea that Epstein killed himself. The memes today are gonna. I mean, there's so many out there. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. But let's see here. We have some of your theories here say that some people just don't believe he's dead, which that's surprising to me. I think there are more people that are believing that he's actually not dead. He might be sipping a Mai Tai somewhere. Than the fact that the fact that the Clintons killed him. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you're asking me, come on, we're from Arkansas, folks. We've seen this movie before. I mean, come on. The name of our state is a derivative of a term for suicide. It's a synonym. Arkansas is a synonym that implicates the Clintons in suiciding people. So which one do you think I'm going to be more inclined to believe? Right? The man flew on that plane 26 times. There is a photo of him on the plane with Epstein. There's another photo of him on the plane, what appears to be a plane, with his arms around a very young-looking girl. Anyway, we'll be back in a moment. Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about Conduit for Commerce. Conduit for Commerce is an Arkansas-focused nonprofit organization which receives no government funding. Its core beliefs are economic freedom, individual liberty, and limited government. Conduit for Commerce believes those principles are foundational to all individual freedoms and promotes these principles by educating Arkansans and your elected state officials concerning good government policies that will create a better life for all Arkansans. These traditional conservative values have proven throughout history to lift people from poverty, achieve individual desire, and assist in the pursuit of happiness. Conduit for Commerce operates on the basic belief that these principles and ideals of the American founding are worth conserving and renewing at each generation, especially today. Conduit for Commerce accomplishes this work only through the support and interaction of small businesses as well as individuals. Conduit for Commerce thrives from like-minded Arkansans' participation and partnership. It's only through the support of folks like you that Conduit for Commerce is able to be the conduit to the Arkansas State Capitol. Help us continue as Arkansas's primary small business policy entrepreneur through your financial support. Join us by visiting conduitforcommerce.org. Once you're at the site, click Support Our Cause at the top of your screen. Your one-time or monthly donation will directly impact Conduit for Commerce's mission to promote liberty and economic freedom in Arkansas. Together, we can build a liberty machine. That's conduitforcommerce.org.
What that says to me is we didn't give anybody a grade. They earned it by how they voted. For example, yesterday I was talking to a senator, and I told the senator, I said, well, you got an A+. She said, oh, thank you. And I said, no, thank you, because this is a reflection of how you voted on the moral issues like pro-life bills, homeschool bills, some of the tax legislation, the bills to regulate so-called medical marijuana and so forth. And so I know that they're appreciative when they get an A or an A+, but I turn around and say to them, hey, thanks to you. You're the one that voted right. All I did was report it, and that's why it's a report card.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good way to put it. I mean, this is really, in a way, it's a mirror. It's just showing the people.
Bringing you your daily dose of truth. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Unbelievable. Hey, coming up at the top of the hour, I want to get into a few of these headlines. You realize that there was an Arkansas resident that's now been charged with providing support to Al-Qaeda. Yeah, last week. We'll talk about that, bring you that story, as well as unsealing of documents in what's been called the largest Arkansas corruption case since the last 20 years. The new unsealing of these documents reveal a lot more information and details. For example, former state senator John Woods walked into lobbyist Rusty Cranford. And remember, they arrested Rusty Cranford because they had him on tape trying to kill a witness in New Jersey. Okay, I know a lot of people don't know that, but that's what the government claims, that they have him on tape, murder for hire, trying to murder for hire. Anyway, he walks into lobbyist Rusty Cranford's office, pulls his shirt up, says, "I'm not wearing a wire. Where's my $30,000?" We'll give you that story next hour as well. Folks, I want you to welcome back to the program nationally recognized expert on foreign policy on energy, a contributor over at the Daily Caller, Newsmax, The Hill. Dan Perkins is back with us. Dan, how are you, sir?
Good morning, and thank you for having me on, Paul.
Yes, sir. It's always great to talk to you. So let's talk first about this story last week, and then I'd love to get your thoughts on what happened over the weekend. There's just an explosive news weekend. But tell us a little bit about what happened with this Mitch McConnell situation on Twitter.
Well, they're really, it's absolutely bizarre. I wrote a piece should be out sometime this week, where I took the headline from the various accounts where this group of protesters were in front of Mitch McConnell's house in Kentucky, and said it's recorded, stick a knife in his chest and kill him. Now, I wrote this piece because there's a law on the books, a federal law, Code Section 18, subsection 155, I believe, and it says that if you threaten the president, a member of his family, or any elected official, it's a felony, subject to fine and imprisonment. In the Obama administration, there were many examples, but two specific examples I cite is where one particular gentleman threatened, didn't actually do anything to hang the president in his house, and he got 2 years. And another person threatened the president and Maxine Waters, and he got 4 years in jail for just the act of the threat. So I said this article is basically written to Attorney General Barr. Why is it that when President Trump was threatened, for example, by Peter Fonda, his son Barron was threatened to be taken away from his mother and thrown into a cage with the two pedophiles, or that the Secretary of Homeland Security should be stripped naked and beaten, he was never prosecuted.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that Democrats go after people and who make these outlandish threats, but when people make threats against Republicans, our government doesn't seem to want to go after them? And it seems to me that we should expect that our government should give everybody the same protections. And yet it seems like Republicans, well, he didn't really mean it, or I don't really want to press charges, or.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Democrats don't bother with that. So what happened was his campaign committee put that story, and by the way, it's not difficult to, as I said to the Attorney General, this is not going to be a tough job for the FBI to identify who the person is, because she's there on tape in front of a camera and says who she is.
Yes.
When she's making the statement. So it's not hard to figure out who the person was who was making the threat. And so he put the story on his Twitter account, and Twitter suspended his account, his campaign account, because they felt that it was biased and it was racist what he put up there, which is basically what he did, is put the story as it was reported by the people who were there, who were communicating with the press. So I guess there was a huge outcry by a lot of people against Twitter, and they finally reinstated his account. But what's the second part of the story is, not only does the government need to start, if we don't stop this, Paul, if we don't stop this rhetoric, which is getting more and more violent, somebody's going to die, or somebodies are going to die. And there doesn't seem to be any concern when it's Democrats attacking Republicans. And I think there's a double standard here, and I think it's wrong. We should be enforcing the law. If people knew what's going on, they would agree with me that there are consequences when you threaten the life of an elected official.
And there's no question. There's no question.
You go to jail.
There's no
but
question.
Yeah,
and no, Dan, I mean, you're right. And then there's also the social media angle to all of this that's only going to get worse. You know, Twitter, once again, I mean, you know, they don't care that it's the majority leader of the Senate You know, they're going to censor him because they just don't like the fact that leftists are exposed as advocating for violence. I mean, that's
Right.
clearly what that is. And so that's going to get
You're
even
right.
worse in the next year leading up to 2020.
Oh, sure. Well, you know, I think I tend to agree with you, but I would put one caveat on the table. There are things going on in our country that the left and the social media doesn't seem to understand what's going on. Let me give you an example. Universal Pictures wanted to bring out this movie called Hunt, which is a story about teenagers hunting other teenagers. And they decided to postpone it, and then after the shootings in El Paso and Dayton, they decided they were going to postpone it, and then over the weekend they decided they were going to kill it because the protests of the American people were so strong they didn't want to take the heat. And so what I think is happening, Paul, is that there are more and more of us who are standing up, and I quote the old line from the movie Network, I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take it anymore. And I think that's what's happening in this country, slowly but surely, and social media is beginning to understand, you know, Facebook, not that it was a huge number, but Facebook just recently got fined $5 billion from the federal government for its biased activity. So I think that the American people are basically kind of fed up with what the hell's going on, and they're beginning to talk. And I heard last week a great story. Woman who was really angry about being called a white supremacist. You know, if you're white, you're probably a racist or a white supremacist or both. And she said, I'll admit to you that I was intimidated. I didn't wear my MAGA hat or T-shirt, but by God, I'm going to start wearing it every day. Nobody better best me.
Yeah, there are people I think that are feeling a little bit more emboldened because they realize that their opinions are not the minority. Matter of fact, they're probably the majority when it comes to, you know, what's going on. And speaking of that, I'd like to get your comments. What happened with Jeffrey Epstein? Real quick, you know, the media says he committed suicide. No one believes that's the real story, and I think this is an interesting moment in American history where people on the left and the right and in the middle are not believing en masse. I mean, yesterday was interesting to watch the media yesterday because you could kind of almost sense their frustration that so many people were not listening to them. They didn't believe, and so what do? They come out and they try to attack conspiracy theorists. But, I mean, you know, we know it was in those documents the day before, and then he winds up, you know, quote, well, he winds up dead, or some people even think he's not dead. But anyway, what was your reaction to all that?
Well, I think it was interesting that the headline yesterday on Drudge, which is reflecting what you're talking about, is this another person on the Clinton family hit list? Was he did he commit suicide because of the damaging things that would happen had there been a trial? And there have been numerous examples of people related to the Clintons in their campaign at various times that wound up dead on a park bench in Washington, D.C. or mysteriously got sick and died.
Yeah, and you mysteriously get sick and die, and then you're like, right as you die, you like sprinkle some carpet fibers on your body.
Well, you know, but the point that you're making is I think a very valid point, and I equate it to people are beginning to understand how dangerous this attempted coup of Donald Trump really was. I mean, the 302s that came out from Orr last week were just devastating. And there's going to be more and more stuff. And what's important is going on here is that if you paid attention to what happened when the 302s were released last Thursday, we now have France, Italy, and the UK so far involved in this conspiracy against the president. That's serious, serious stuff. And so this is movie stuff, or maybe I should write another book. But I think the American people are beginning to understand. And I wrote a piece. I wrote a satire piece the week before, and the title of it, Colonel Mustard in the Library. If you're familiar with the game of
Clue.
Okay.
Yes.
Clue. So was it Colonel Mustard in the library, or was it Hussein Obama in the White House? It's a parody, and I had a lot of fun writing it, but there's a lot of truth in it. And I have been writing several times now, beginning to raise the question: if you have Brennan, if you had Comey and Strzok and Page and Orr and McCabe and on and on and on, all these people involved in this process, to assume that the President of the United States had no knowledge to me is a huge mistake. So I think that, and I wrote a piece probably about 2 months ago about this, that what we're going to do, and I know this is going to sound bizarre, but what we're going to do here is we're going to have a situation that sometime between now and the general election in 2020, more and more people are going to be asking the question, what did Obama know, and when did he know it, and what did he do about it?
Yeah.
Now, and so I suspect that Barr may come up with enough evidence to indict former President Obama. The Democrats have done a wonderful job setting it up.
Yeah, that would be.
And here's the twist:
the news of the century.
And here's the twist: Donald Trump pardons Barack Obama.
Oh, wow. Well, hey, you said it here. I'll remember that, Dan. I appreciate
All right, sir.
I appreciate you coming on. It's always great to talk to you, sir. Have a great week ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
Dan
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yes, sir. That would be incredible. That would be absolutely incredible if that were to take place. Folks, front page of conduitnews.com. Go read this today. Go share it with your friends. A few legislators who did poorly on the Conduit for Commerce Arkansas Legislative Scorecard of 2019, as we are in the wake of their decisions. October 1st is coming up pretty quick, and we'll be paying more on our gas prices. They have declared that the scorecard is worthless. Some of them have on social media. Well, of course they would. I mean, why wouldn't they? I mean, you would think the scorecard is worthless too if you are not troubled by Arkansas's high tax burden, not troubled by increased spending of state money to reward cronies and pick winners and losers among businesses, and not troubled by state agencies that waste taxpayer money. Oh, by the way, the picking winners and losers and taking taxpayer money, that has to do with China. Yeah, of course, because we're going to give that money to China. Tomorrow on the program at 7:33, we're going to be talking with Brigadier General Robert S. Spalding, who's a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute. He focuses on United States-China relations, and we're specifically going to talk about how China, how we labeled them a currency manipulator last week. And I'm going to also ask him about, what are China's subversive efforts. Again, tomorrow on the program, Brigadier General Robert S. Spalding, senior fellow at the Hudson Institute. The Hudson Institute is where Vice President Mike Pence actually gave that address about a year ago, where he talked about how dangerous China's efforts were and what they were doing to our allies and here in America. Now, if a legislator did poorly on the Conduit scorecard, that doesn't mean the legislator's not conservative. They can still be conservative on social issues while not being conservative with your money. That's an important distinction to make, and it's the truth. You can be conservative on a ton of issues and just not be conservative on the economic things like spending and taxes. There are organizations like the Family Council, Arkansas Right to Life. By the way, I believe, did anybody get an email? I got an email from Rose Mims with Arkansas Right to Life about a play, a viability play that they're going to be bringing across the state to perform. I'll give you guys more details about that later. You've got Arkansas Right to Life, Family Council. They look at the legislators' records on social issues. There are organizations like the Patriots Fact 746, Gun Owners of America, National Rifle Association. They look at legislative records on Second Amendment rights. Then there are some organizations that praise legislators for giving special treatment for big business. Conduit fills the gap by monitoring legislation affecting your pocketbook and your economic freedom. Check this out. It's up right now at conduitnews.com, courtesy of Conduit for Action. And we're going to take a break, going to reset here, and be back in just a moment. Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about Conduit for Commerce. Conduit for Commerce is an Arkansas-focused nonprofit organization which receives no government funding. Its core beliefs are economic freedom, individual liberty, and limited government. Conduit for Commerce believes those principles are foundational to all individual freedoms and promotes these principles by educating Arkansans and your elected state officials concerning good government policies that will create a better life for all Arkansans. These traditional conservative values have proven throughout history to lift people from poverty, achieve individual desire, and assist in the pursuit of happiness. Conduit for Commerce operates on the basic belief that these principles and ideals of the American founding are worth conserving and renewing at each generation, especially today. Conduit for Commerce accomplishes this work only through the support and interaction of small businesses as well as individuals. Conduit for Commerce thrives from like-minded Arkansans' participation and partnership. It's only through the support of folks like you that Conduit for Commerce is able to be the conduit to the Arkansas State Capitol. Help us continue as Arkansas's primary small business policy entrepreneur through your financial support. Join us by visiting conduitforcommerce.org. Once you're at the site, click Support Our Cause at the top of your screen. Your one-time or monthly donation will directly impact Conduit for Commerce's mission to promote liberty and economic freedom in Arkansas. Together, we can build a liberty machine. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Are showing the legislature, what they did. You guys scored 25 bills.
Yes.
And tell us about some of those bills.
Well, most of those were pro-life bills. About half of them were pro-life bills. And for lawmakers who hold themselves out to be pro-life, that should have been just as easy as falling out of bed to vote for those 13 bills. So that for them, that's almost 13 easy, easy votes. It should be. Now, it wasn't easy for everybody because not everybody out there is pro-life. But then we also had a couple of homeschool bills. We ventured over into the tax area just a little bit with a bill that would have given some relief on this awful used car tax where we tax old cars half a dozen times.
Now, tell us about that. Why was that a family council issue?
Well, think about it, Paul, and you get it, and most everybody else does too. Who buys old cars? It's usually families out here that either have teenagers that are just learning to drive. And, there was one time, Paul, with our 4 boys, we owned 6 automobiles. Wow. We had 6 cars in our family, and all of them...
Determined to drain the swamp in Little Rock, it's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
On Friday, I told you about the Springfield man who was going into the Walmart armed with 100 rounds of ammunition, body armor, and was stopped by an off-duty fireman, held him at gunpoint until, and apparently the story was he actually went into the Walmart and was filming people panicking, because he's a sick guy. So over at KARK, they had a report on this incident about being an open carry state. Listen to this. The heavily armed Springfield man who was arrested Thursday afternoon caused a panic in Walmart, did so in an open carry state. Like Missouri, Arkansas abides by the same gun carrying standard, and police recommend to respect people's rights while also being vigilant about safety. Quote, if you notice something suspicious, and this almost verbatim what I told you on Friday, if you notice something suspicious, it's best just to call police and let them handle it. If your instincts are telling you something's up, you're probably right. That last part is what I told you. People in Arkansas can listen to this. Now, this is KARK. This is KARK, NBC News affiliate, reporting on their website, quote, what the Arkansas State Police can't seem to admit, by the way, quote, people in Arkansas can legally open or concealed carry with or without a license according to the state weapons laws. As long as they don't attempt to unlawfully use the firearm, it is their right to carry that weapon. Murphy said in places like Fayetteville, where people don't often see guns in public areas, it can cause panic when an unwitting citizen spots one. An unwitting citizen. Wouldn't it be great if the state police would admit what the truth is so we'd have less unwitting citizens being scared when they see somebody with a gun? The fact is, Arkansas's decriminalization of guns helps us in these situations where you've got mass shootings everywhere. And I told you, folks, if you feel comfortable carrying, you need to know that you can carry to protect your family, to protect yourself when you're out in public. How many of you didn't do that this way? How many of you are going to how many of you, I went to the grocery store with my family and I thought to myself, man, you kind of put yourself in that mindset of, I am so thankful. I'm so thankful that at least I have taken the precautions to try to protect my family if somebody or some copycat comes waltzing through the door right now. So anyway, you should be grateful that if we're going to live in an environment the way this environment where there's these mass shootings, I'm glad that at least in Arkansas we can protect ourselves, and you got to exercise it. Just continue to be vigilant. If you do see something, certainly say something, and be mindful, be responsible as well. So I'm grateful at that. I'm not grateful, once again, that we have some leaders that want to respond to this by going, with red flag laws that are going to violate your rights. And that's still something that's concerning, but I do think that there are people who are talking some sense into some lawmakers right now, and I'm not just talking about the gun lobby. I'm just talking about everyday average Americans. I think a lot of these politicians, I don't think they have a clue. Folks, the problem are gun-free zones with some of these mass shootings. That's some of the biggest problems. Not necessarily with Walmart and the Dayton. I don't know what the bar's policy was on firearms, but see, that makes people nervous when we've got alcohol and guns and everything else. Anyway, the telephone number 870-275-9799. We have one more hour coming your way next. When we come back, I'm going to tell you about an Arkansas resident who's been charged with supporting Al-Qaeda. Also, unsealed documents, not the ones in the Jeffrey Epstein case, but the ones concerning John Woods, Jeremy Hutchinson, Rusty Cranford. Lisa Hammersley calls it the biggest scandal in Arkansas in the last 20 years. We've got more details, and I can't help but find a little comment. When I read this on when did this come out? Was it yesterday or yeah? So it was yesterday. I'm sorry. When I read this yesterday, folks. Oh my goodness. Did any of you out there kind of laugh when you were reading the FBI interview transcripts between? It's pretty funny. We'll have that next hour as well, and your meme of the day.
The news and talk of Northeast Arkansas. This is News Talk 101.3 FM and 12:30 AM KBTM, Jonesboro, an EAB radio station.
Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about Conduit for Commerce. Conduit for Commerce is an Arkansas-focused nonprofit organization which receives no government funding. Its core beliefs are economic freedom, individual liberty, and limited government. Conduit for Commerce believes those principles are foundational to all individual freedoms and promotes these principles by educating Arkansans and your elected state officials concerning good government policies that will create a better life for all Arkansans. These traditional conservative values have proven throughout history to lift people from poverty, achieve individual desire, and assist in the pursuit of happiness. Conduit for Commerce operates on the basic belief that these principles and ideals of the American founding are worth conserving and renewing at each generation, especially today. Conduit for Commerce accomplishes this work only through the support and interaction of small businesses as well as individuals. Conduit for Commerce thrives from like-minded Arkansans' participation and partnership. It's only through the support of folks like you that Conduit for Commerce is able to be the conduit to the Arkansas State Capitol. Help us continue as Arkansas's primary small business policy entrepreneur through your financial support. Join us by visiting conduitforcommerce.org. Once you're at the site, click Support Our Cause at the top of your screen. Your one-time or monthly donation will directly impact Conduit for Commerce's mission to promote liberty and economic freedom in Arkansas. Together, we can build a liberty machine. That's conduitforcommerce.org.
Had over 100,000 miles on them, and we'd buy an old car for one of my boys, and then we have to turn around and pay tax on it. And I just thought, this thing's already been taxed half a dozen times, and so you look at little people out here who are being hit with taxes every which way, and then here comes the state, and they want to tax an old car, and it's just not right. And so all we were doing was raising the threshold to $7,500 and said, if you buy a car that's less than $7,500, you don't have to pay any state sales tax on it. But we couldn't get it through.
Here in Arkansas, you can legally carry a firearm if you have a license. So it is your right to be armed. Many concealed carry classes will teach you to keep your weapon as covered as possible because it can be a distraction. With national headlines raising many people's alertness, what should you do if you notice someone acting suspiciously and carrying a weapon? Fayetteville Police Sergeant Tony Murphy says don't hesitate to call police and let them handle the situation.
It's your grade.
If something seems out of the ordinary and you feel like something could occur, call the police. Don't try to confront that person. Call the police. Let us do that. We're trained to do that. That's what we do.
In light of recent shootings within Walmart stores, Walmart spokesperson Randy Hargrove says Walmart does employ armed third-party security for stores that are determined to need additional resources. So what are your gun rights right here in our state? As with many laws, it's complicated, but in summary, Arkansas is both permitless and open carry and honors non-resident permits, meaning anyone who is legally allowed to possess a firearm does not require an additional permit to carry it. There are certain areas, though, such as university campuses, which requires an enhanced carry permit to be able to carry. And be aware that private property with posted signage prohibits.
So you guys are going to be coordinating, handing out the Statesman Award, 24 senators and 66 state representatives. And, Jerry, I was just telling folks either last hour when I was teasing that, you were coming on, you've been down there 30-plus years. You've been down there where you couldn't get any pro-life legislation done. You couldn't get anything done. And so it is an accomplishment to see. I'm sure, I'd love for you to talk about this level of, good votes versus, what you've seen in the past.
Well, my goodness, years ago, back in the, I started going out to the Capitol and lobbying for pro-life bills when Bill Clinton was governor. That was in the 1989, so 91, and it's such a different world out there. It's not perfect because it's.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
All right, welcome back. Hour number 2, folks. Thanks so much for being with us. If you're just joining us in the first hour, we covered a lot of that Jeffrey Epstein situation and how none of you are believing the media, which is absolutely fantastic from my perspective. I mean, people on the left and the right and the middle, no one's believing what they're being told, and it's driving the press crazy. I've got other stuff I got to talk about, but conspiracy theories. Listen to this. This is from the Washington Post. I just saw this. Conspiracy theories aren't fueled by facts. They're fueled by attention. On Saturday, a baseless conspiracy theory about the death of Jeffrey Epstein gorged itself on a feast of the stuff as a viral hashtag spammed by believers trended on Twitter. And less than a day, a viral tweet from the conservative internet personality promoting that hashtag, Clinton body count, was retweeted by the president. This rapid spread on Twitter of an unsubstantiated claim, blah, 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 blah. They hate you. They don't want you thinking independently. They don't want you thinking based on your intuition. They don't want you thinking at all. By the way, no mention by this Washington Post reporter that they have been peddling a Russian collusion conspiracy theory for 2.5 years. Many times, those stories are based on nothing, no sources. If they have to, they're making sources up, an anonymous source. So they're just as guilty of doing the things that they now want to accuse other people of doing. And by the way, the Clinton conspiracy theory about the Clintons murdering people that they don't like, not baseless. Go look at the list of people that they were associated with that are dead, okay? Anyway, sorry, just makes me... So, if you want more information on that, you can check out hour 1 of our podcast where we talked about it extensively. And I'm sure the meme of the day will be related in some way to this as well. Telephone number, 870-275-9799. There's an Arkansas man who has been charged by the government for supporting Al-Qaeda, according to Stephen Simpson, the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. A Helena, West Helena resident was charged by U.S. Attorney Cody Highland. They announced this on Friday. I'm assuming this was after I was able to, I was off the air by 8 o'clock. It's a big deal. Federal grand jury charged Bilal al-Rayani. Bilal al-Rayani, 28, a Yemeni national living in Arkansas, with supporting the terrorist organization in Yemen, as well as providing a false name on a passport. Highland, the chief prosecutor of the Eastern District of Arkansas. Let's see here. Let's keep going here. Let's look into how he allegedly supported this terrorist organization back in Yemen. Oh, by the way, can I just say something on that? The fact that this guy's from Yemen. I have used the country of Yemen many times when it comes to the idea of profiling by country of origin. This was very much the reasoning behind President Trump's ban that was characterized as a Muslim ban, but it was really characterized, but what it really was just trying to stop people from coming here that are from countries that are just consumed with terrorism and the blood that that follows it. And I would use the country of Yemen all the time, back when we would kind of hash out these arguments, just talking about how it's reasonable and how it still is reasonable to say that here is a 95-year-old woman, and you're going to screen her and put your hand down her pants or up her skirt or whatever to see if she's got a bomb, and you're going to let the guy who was born in Yemen just walk on by. I think we need to talk to the guy who's born in Yemen more than we need to talk to the that was the whole argument. Okay, you guys understand that. I just had to bring that up because here we have an Arkansas resident who's a Yemeni national, and he's supporting terrorism, according to Cody Highland and the Eastern District of Arkansas. Al-Rayani lived in Arkansas prior to traveling to Yemen, and his criminal actions took place out of the country before he returned to Arkansas, the press release states. He was originally charged July 11, 2019 in a one-count indictment charging him with making a false statement on a passport application. Quote, "The government's first responsibility is to protect our people and our national interests. This particular investigation also highlights the critical value to our law enforcement agencies that originates from citizens who take the time and effort to report suspicious activity when it is observed." So, we'll be watching this. Yeah, anyway, we'll be watching this as it unfolds, folks. I mean, it is, I guess this article has been corrected. It says it's been corrected here. Somebody in the, some of these comments are brutal. I'm surprised that's still out there. The Demgas, a lot of people are upset by this. One person on the Arkansas Democrat Gazette's website, named Pac-Man, wants to know if this is the brother that Ilhan Omar married. No. Another guy, can you just make up names? Another guy just says kill him. Anyway, that's interesting. That's all it says. Anyway, we have a justice system, and we're gonna be put through that process. But anyway, this kind of stuff can go on, right here in Arkansas. I want to remind you guys, tomorrow on the program, we're going to be talking to, at 7:30 tomorrow, we're going to be talking to Brigadier General Robert S. Spaulding. He's retired from the U.S. Air Force. He's a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute. He focuses on U.S.-China relations, economic and national security. Economic security. Interesting. And the Asia-Pacific military balance. He's the author of an upcoming book entitled Stealth War, How China Took Over While America's Elite Slept. We'll be talking about that tomorrow on the program at 7:33. Always great to talk to. Always great to talk about China. Never talked to this individual before, General Spaulding, but I'm interested to hear his take on just how big of a threat China is. On Friday, we did a little flashback. Went to the Conduit News site. We talked about, we played a little bit of Congressman Rick Crawford's interview from a couple weeks ago, where he talked about how dangerous China is abroad. And so we will probably get into a little bit of that as well, if I had to take a wild guess. Okay, we're going to reset here. When we come back, we're going to tell you about a man who's been found guilty of filing a false police report against Senator Jason Rapert. That's in the headlines from yesterday. Jeannie Roberts, check that out, and we'll be back here in just a moment. Joe?
All 1 3 FM, 1230 AM, KBTM, Jonesboro, and EAB Radio Station with Talk of Northeast Arkansas. This is News Talk 1015
Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about Conduit for Commerce. Conduit for Commerce is an Arkansas-focused nonprofit organization which receives no government funding. Its core beliefs are economic freedom, individual liberty, and limited government. Conduit for Commerce believes those principles are foundational to all individual freedoms and promotes these principles by educating Arkansans and your elected state officials concerning good government policies that will create a better life for all Arkansans. These traditional conservative values have proven throughout history to lift people from poverty, achieve individual desire, and assist in the pursuit of happiness. Conduit for Commerce operates on the basic belief that these principles and ideals of the American founding are worth conserving and renewing at each generation, especially today. Conduit for Commerce accomplishes this work only through the support and interaction of small businesses as well as individuals. Conduit for Commerce thrives from like-minded Arkansans' participation and partnership. It's only through the support of folks like you that Conduit for Commerce is able to be the conduit to the Arkansas State Capitol. Help us continue as Arkansas's primary small business policy entrepreneur through your financial support. Join us by visiting conduitforcommerce.org. Once you're at the site, click Support Our Cause at the top of your screen. Your one-time or monthly donation will directly impact Conduit for Commerce's mission to promote liberty and economic freedom in Arkansas. Together, we can build a liberty machine. That's conduitforcommerce.org.
Made up of a bunch of imperfect people. But I will say this. We went almost 10 years, I believe, without getting a pro-life bill passed. And we worked every year to get a bill passed. As recent as, I believe it was 2011, I think we and Right to Life introduced, I believe, around 10 pro-life bills. We only passed one. Well, this year, we got 13 pro-life bills passed. And I think there was maybe only one that failed, and the only reason it failed is it got filed too late and we just ran out of time, or it would have passed also. And so you go from going 10 years to pass one to passing 13 in one session. I mean, who can complain about that? Mm-hmm. And so it's a reflection of the culture of life that's been created out here among the people, and it's a reflection of who's in the legislature. Yeah. And I wish they were so conservative on all the important issues as they are on pro-life.
Yeah. Well, I think it's certainly, considering what other states are doing, passing bills that allow you to kill a baby, right up until it's born, if not after.
Exposing the truth and everything the Marble Palace establishment keep trying to cover up. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Over at the Babylon Bee, they've got some great... if you guys do not read the Babylon Bee and you want to laugh every day and it's lighthearted most of the time, you guys have got to check out the Babylon Bee. This headline, here's just one headline. Here's one headline for the Babylon Bee this morning. It's a picture of Brigham Young, and the headline is Mormons launch sacred underwear store, Brigham's Secret. Here's another one. To show support for gun control, Matt Damon remakes Bourne series with bananas instead of firearms. And there's a banana in all the shots where he was holding a gun. Woo! Sorry. It's just can't help it. Coming up, we're going to talk about these unsealed documents that reveal new details in what Lisa Hammersley calls the largest corruption scandal in Arkansas history. John Woods walked into Rusty Cranford's office and lifted his shirt up. No, this is not the beginning of one of those novels. John Woods walked into Rusty Cranford's office and slowly lifted his shirt up and said, "I'm not wearing a wire. Give me $30,000." Somebody captioned that. Like, take the story where you would want it to go after that. Like, what would be the craziest thing that would happen? Okay, sorry. I mean, you know, I have a little bit of fun at their expense because they, lied, cheated, and, used their positions of power to carve out financial niches for themselves at my and your expense. And politicians, the one thing they can't the one thing they can't stand is not being taken seriously. They can't stand not being taken seriously. They can't stand being poked fun at. This is their life, man. They work their whole life to be thought of as somebody. They always thought growing up when they were studying Civics 101, oh man, I could be a politician, and I would really do a lot for myself. I've kind of stuck with that thought. And also, baby boomers, I love you because, if you guys hadn't had kids, I wouldn't be here. But baby boomers, you guys have an unhealthy love of government. You really do. That's what I've realized. Baby boomers have an unhealthy confidence, or they put too much faith in those in positions of power, and they give too much. Baby boomers give those in positions of power the benefit of the doubt when they should be skeptical, have a healthy American skepticism of power and how power corrupts. Just an observation that I've kind of trying to work some things out. Like, how did we get here? Well, you get to this point in Arkansas government or national government because of your leaders. I mean, that's how you get here. The people, my goodness. Well, I know he's a member of the... Remember hearing this all the time? This is a very baby boomer statement to make. Well, I know he's a member of this party that I disagree with, but we go to church together, so I'm going to vote for him. What a strange... maybe resolve the inconsistency there instead of just accepting it. I don't want to rock the boat. Well, is this a superficial relationship or what? Let's get real with people. Let's be honest with people and respectful at the same time. All right, sorry. There is an Arkansas man who has been found guilty of filing a false police report on Senator Jason Rapert. Now, when this initially happened and the police report was filed, obviously those on the left, they picked this story up and ran with it. I wonder if they will pick it up with as much fervor now that this has happened. This is Stefani. Is that his name? It does say man guilty. His name is Stefani. Is that like Family Matters? Are there people now that are naming their kids after Steve Urkel's alternate personality, Stefan? Maybe it's just Stefan. Stefane? Maybe it is. Maybe it's Stefane. Stefan. Stefan Ferry, 46, was led out. I'm going to go with Stefan. I like it better. Was led out of the courtroom in handcuffs after Judge Harry Foster said that he was guilty. Quote, it was an attempt to pervert and subvert the criminal justice system. So there was a phone call. He's going to get 90 days in jail, $1,000 fine, 60 days of that sentence were suspended. So he's got to serve 30 days in jail within a 90-day period. There was apparently a phone call between Senator Jason Rapert and Stefan Ferry back in 2018, January. And both of the men recorded the conversation, right? But from what I can tell reading this article, Stefan Ferry, the guy who's been found guilty, he didn't have, or his conversation wasn't the full conversation. Senator Rapert had the full conversation. But in this conversation, Ferry came out of it claiming that Rapert had threatened him. And then he went to the police and he said that Jason Rapert was, quote, sending people after me. He also said, I don't know what that means. I know he has threatened someone in the past with a gun. Okay. Here is a quote from the recording that was played in the courtroom. This is apparently what the guy thought was so bothersome. Quote, I want to put you on notice that if you continue to harass and intimidate and send threatening messages to me via email, social media, or contact my office, then I will file a police report with law enforcement, and they can investigate this matter further, sir. So, Senator Rapert saying, I will file a police report if you continue to harass me. And so then the guy goes and files a police report saying that he feels threatened by that. Sending people after me. In his testimony, he said he was just paraphrasing when he told authorities on 4 different occasions that Rapert said he was sending people after him. Interesting. Now, Stefan's attorney, Jeff Rosenweig, Jeff Rosenweig, said that how someone perceives a threat is subjective. Oh, and that's why we had a trial, right? To see if the threat was, if most people thought it was reasonable and most people didn't think it was reasonable. That's what I think. And so Rosenweig had a photocopy of a tweet. Now, this was a tweet that sent liberals sent their heads spinning. Back on September 5th, 2015, Senator Rapert tweeted, not smart to come up and harass somebody in a parking lot who's carrying a handgun. Better be glad you decided to walk away. #armed and ready. So the attorney tried to use that tweet to say, so he can be threatening, but not in this situation. Okay. Rapert said in court that there was, quote, a clear marked trail of harassment for many years from this gentleman. He was guilty a year ago. He's guilty today. We need to take a stand against anyone who falsely accuses someone of a crime. Let's see. Rapert was clearly trying to interfere with the election, his political career, but said an emphatic and emotional yes when asked if he felt he was in physical danger from Ferry. Weird. And then, of course, the accused attorney says that they're disappointed that the judge didn't agree with us. Anyway, so that's the news there. Senator Jason Rapert, there was a police report filed against him, and the judge said that the man filed a false police report. I'm telling you, it appears to me, I mean, I think it seems reasonable. I mean, based on that coverage, based on what was said, seems like it was a false police report. Seems like that was the right decision to make. Tell me what you guys think out there. Telephone number 870-275-9799. You can sound off on Facebook, facebook.com/Conduit News. In other news, real quick, can we throw up Dinesh D'Souza's tweet for the audience? I'd like for them to see this. Headline, or not headline, but Dinesh D'Souza. If Jeffrey Epstein were scheduled to testify against the mob and suddenly turned up dead, would it be a conspiracy theory to suspect foul play? The people Epstein was involved with are 10 times more powerful than the mob. The situation calls for a prompt and thorough inquiry. No doubt, but guess what? There's no video footage of it. And again, the media cannot stand that nobody's paying attention to them. Oh, there was Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. No, he didn't. Yeah, well, you can imagine what it'd be like if he did, right? Oh, man. Yeah, That is a meme. We could write that our own meme. You get the Chris Farley, the Billy Madison. Well, you can imagine what it'd be like if he did. Oh, back in a minute. Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about Conduit for Commerce. Conduit for Commerce is an Arkansas-focused nonprofit organization which receives no government funding. Its core beliefs are economic freedom, individual liberty, and limited government. Conduit for Commerce believes those principles are foundational to all individual freedoms and promotes these principles by educating Arkansans and your elected state officials concerning good government policies that will create a better life for all Arkansans. These traditional conservative values have proven throughout history to lift people from poverty, achieve individual desire, and assist in the pursuit of happiness. Conduit for Commerce operates on the basic belief that these principles and ideals of the American founding are worth conserving and renewing at each generation, especially today. Conduit for Commerce accomplishes this work only through the support and interaction of small businesses as well as individuals. Conduit for Commerce thrives from like-minded Arkansans' participation and partnership. It's only through the support of folks like you that Conduit for Commerce is able to be the conduit to the Arkansas state capitol. Help us continue as Arkansas's primary small business policy entrepreneur through your financial support. Join us by visiting conduitforcommerce.org. Once you're at the site, click Support Our Cause at the top of your screen. Your one-time or monthly donation will directly impact Conduit for Commerce's mission to promote liberty and economic freedom in Arkansas. Together, we can build a liberty machine. That's conduitforcommerce.org. After it's born, it is. I'm glad I live in Arkansas. I'm glad that my government is doing something different. You know, because I think it means a lot.
Yeah. Now here's an interesting fact. By the way, if people want to see this report card, all they got to do is go online to arkansasreport.com. Real easy. It's Family Council Action Committee, but it's arkansasreport.com, or they can call 501-375-7000, and we'll mail them one. We printed about 10,000 of these, and we're sending them out, but we also have it online at arkansasreport.com. But there were, I believe, about 6 lawmakers, Senate and House combined, who voted with us every single time on every single bill. And so they are the top, very, very, very top ones where they didn't falter on anything whatsoever. And so the ones that got A's, you know, you could kind of go the other.
The intersection of conservative ideas and reality. Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
As we speak, Beijing is employing a whole-of-government approach, using political, economic, and military tools as well as propaganda to advance its influence and benefit its interests in the United States.
And I have wanted to welcome back to Arkansas Chairman Chu. Please give Chairman Chu a round of applause.
China is also applying this power in more proactive ways than ever before to exert influence and interfere in the domestic policy and politics of this country.
Chairman Chu, I got to know as he is the CEO and chairman of Shandong Ruyi Technology Group out of Shandong Province.
Over the past 17 years, China's GDP has grown 9-fold. It's become the second largest economy in the world. Much of this success was driven by American investment in China. And the Chinese Communist Party has also used an arsenal of policies inconsistent with free and fair trade. including tariffs, quotas, currency manipulation, forced technology transfer,
all right, so
intellectual
that is
property
the speech.
theft, and industrial subsidies that are handed out.
You're listening to Vice President Mike Pence here give a speech to the Hudson Institute last year. I just wanted to remind you guys that. So tomorrow on the program, we will be talking to a member with the Hudson Institute, Brigadier General Robert S. Spalding, and his specific expertise is U.S.-China relations. So we'll be talking about that. That Veronica Vaughn. No, you didn't. Well, not me personally, but a guy I know. No, they didn't. Well, you can imagine what it'd be like if they did, right? Telephone number 870-275-9799. Here it is. I've been teasing it all program this morning. Senator John Woods. According to Lisa Hammersley, and according to now newly released transcripts, FBI interviews that have been unsealed by the court, Christine Baker's court, Senator John Woods strolled across the street from the state capitol, past the secretary, and into the office of lobbyist Milton Rusty Cranford. He shut the door. No, I don't know if he shut the door. He pulled up his shirt. Quote, "I'm not wearing a wire. I have people I have to take care of today. I need my $30,000 by the end of the workday." According to FBI transcript, when they interviewed lobbyist Eddie Cooper, Cranford responded to Woods and told him to go F himself. "I don't know what you're talking about." Yeah, if somebody comes up to me and, like, takes their jacket off, lifts up their shirt, "I'm not wearing a wire," I'm going to automatically assume that you are wearing a wire. It's in your pants or something, you know? Or you're recording it on your cell phone. Quote, "I will ruin you on the Hill if I don't have my money at the end of the day." That's Senator John Woods. Man, can you believe this guy? These were the people. I mean, I remember, you know, seeing John Woods walking around in 2015, a free man, walking around the Arkansas Senate floor, you know, talking to people just like everybody else does, blends in, you know, how you doing, buddy? You know, slapping each other on the back, you know, going over and whispering funny things. Yeah, that's real funny. Like all of them do, you know? And yet, here's a guy that strolls into lobbyist's office, takes his jacket and lifts his shirt up. Oh, what a sight. And says, "I'm not wearing a wire. I want my money by the end of the day." Now, John Woods is in jail now. He has petitioned President Trump to let him out early if he can serve out. No, I'm sorry, not let him out early, but continue his sentence while being put to work building the wall. He got himself and he got a bunch of other inmates. You can imagine the schemes this guy's running in prison. I'm sure he's leading, you know, people, probably convince people, like, "Hey, you know, what if we go down there and build the wall? You'd be down with that, be more free." Now, according to Rusty Cranford, in his interviews with the FBI, Lisa Hammersley said that Cranford remembered the encounter a little differently. After he refused to hand over money, Woods threatened, quote, "Tomorrow is going to suck for both of us." Cranford assumed that meant that John Woods was going to go to the FBI and going to basically rat on Rusty Cranford, which is bad news for John Woods. I mean, if you think about it, Rusty Cranford was arrested after the FBI alleges that he tried to murder for hire, or hire somebody to murder the witness in New Jersey. You know, maybe John Woods didn't realize how thin the ice he was skating on actually was. Let's see here. We got more transcripts. I like this. This is what Lisa Hammersley writes. The transcripts offer new information and vivid accounts of the early stages of the investigation into what has become Arkansas's biggest political corruption scandal in the last 20 years. Wow. I think it's going to be bigger. I think it's going to be the biggest when it's all said and done, because we're still not done with all of this, folks. I don't know if you understand that. This is not over. I know people, like to think that it's over, but I just don't see how it could possibly be over. Let's see here. We keep going. Let's talk about Senator Jeremy Hutchinson. Cranford reminisced about a dinner after talking with John Woods, after the, John Woods, busts into the, I'm going to keep retelling the story. John Woods busts into the office, he throws his coat on the table, and then proceeds to flash Rusty Cranford. After that meeting, Cranford remembered a dinner after the Woods meeting with State Senator Jeremy Hutchinson at Arthur's Prime Steakhouse in West Little Rock. Hutchinson, a Little Rock Republican, said a grand jury was investigating Woods and 3 lobbyists, including Cranford himself. Quote, I like to threw up at Arthur's when he said that. Really? Cranford told the FBI. So Jeremy knew that a grand jury was investigating Woods. Huh. Now, you got to keep in mind, Jeremy Hutchinson knew the FBI. He was an informant with the FBI at one time, and then they had opened an investigation, and then they closed the investigation, and then they opened up the investigation again. So we all, you got to be aware. He would know. I mean, now how would you know? You're not supposed to know about grand jury information, right? You're not. No one is supposed. You're supposed to not know. But things get out, don't they? Transcripts include 28 pages of talk with Cranford. Let's see here. More guilty pleas. It talks about Hutchinson resigning. And the Gazette, listen to this. I mean, they've got to do their due diligence here, but the Gazette sought responses from the attorneys of Hutchinson, Woods, Cranford, Cooper, and from other named, but most did not return calls or emails late last week. Hutchinson's lawyer, Tim Dudley, of course, Jeremy has now pled guilty. He has pled guilty to taking bribes. I mean, that's exactly what he did. Go to the sub-headline, Why the Money? Cranford had been trying to avoid Woods, he told investigators, because he knew the senator was going to demand money. I wasn't going to give him any more money, Cranford said. I'd given him enough. So why, though? Why did John Woods need this $30,000? Why did he need it on that particular day? Quote, I don't have a clue, said Cranford. I mean, and even if I told you, it wasn't going to be the truth. Or even if he told you it wasn't going to be the truth. I mean, his car broke down 19 times. So that suggests that the guy was lying. Like, hey, Rusty, can I have some money? My car broke down. Again. Really? Yeah, so nobody knew what the money was for. And then Rusty's like, okay, I'll give you the money, but here's some Mardi Gras beads. It'll cost you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just think it's a really great way. Lisa Hammersley did a great job here. It's such a great way to begin this story there. I'm not wearing a wire. Ooh. Maybe this is where the rumors started. Maybe it came from Rusty Cranford. I'm talking about everybody thought everybody was wearing a wire for a period of like 2.5 years down at the Marble Palace in Little Rock. Everybody was like, that guy might be wearing a wire. There was a federal agent around every column. Okay. I don't have a clue. Cooper said Woods, influential people needed to be paid off. I think one of them he was talking about was Michael Lamoureux. So The question is, why did he demand the $30,000? According to FBI transcripts, Eddie Cooper says, I think one of them he was talking about was Michael Lamoureux, president of the Arkansas Senate at the time. So what they're saying is they suspect that Woods needed the $30,000 to pay off a debt he owed Michael Lamoureux, because they got a large General Improvement Fund grant for preferred family health care, according to Cooper. That's what he told the FBI. Michael worked whatever, listen to this, quote, Michael worked whatever magic with the governor's office to say, hey, we're going to give this guy $2 million. Now, it was actually only $1 million is what it ended up being. Question was asked by an FBI agent, so you think Woods owed Lamoureux some money based on that transaction? That's what it sounded like, said Cooper, who was a former House member. Let's forget, he's a lobbyist. The dude's a state representative. He's a former state representative. Just add that to the list of the corruption scandal. Quote, I don't know who else he would have owed it to, because Lamoureux was the only one who could say, yeah, because if you're the president of the Senate, you get to say where it's going. Now, Lamoureux, remember, was the president of the Senate back in 2013. That would have been when Mike Beebe was governor. That would have been when that would have also been when they passed Medicaid expansion and that $2 billion program. Lamoureux left the Senate in 2014 to become the chief of staff for Governor Asa Hutchinson. Lamoureux has not been charged with the crime. He then left the governor's office. This is a quote from the Gazette. He left the governor's office in May 2016. He could not be reached for comment on Friday. Yeah, he left the governor's office in 2016 because of a report. Now, they didn't say that, but it was a report that he got a bunch of money from the Arkansas Faith and Freedom Coalition. It was a nonprofit that was funded by lobbyists, and I cannot remember the figures, but I believe it was a 6-figure payment to Lamoureux's law firm for consulting fees or legal services. And it was almost the entire amount of money that the Faith and Freedom Coalition made for that entire year. It was a way for lobbyists to pay off Lamoureux. And that's why he had to leave the governor's office, because he looked dirty. It looked bad. Now, here is what I couldn't help but think was the funniest thing I have read in a newspaper concerning this public corruption in a long time. After Woods made his financial demand, he needed $30,000 or $35,000, the best Cranford could remember. $30,000 in Cooper's mind. Immediately after, Rusty Cranford and his eyes were subjected to John Woods in all his wireless glory. He decided to call Jeremy Hutchinson, who was Cranford's personal attorney as well as an important political connection. Jeremy Hutchinson arrived about 20 minutes later. Cranford and Cooper recounted the Woods demand. "Are you serious?" Hutchinson asked. Then there was a note. Cranford showed him the note. The FBI transcript says he later lost the note. So the FBI, Cranford then told the feds that he called Hutchinson because he wanted his help as an attorney regarding the extortion attempt. But he also needed Hutchinson's political heft to keep Woods from going to state or federal authorities. What? Wow. So if you needed to be protected, Jeremy Hutchinson was offering services of protection, or at least that was the perception. Quote, "You need to take care of this. You need to handle this, Jeremy," Cranford said he told Hutchinson. And Jeremy is a lot higher ranking senator than Woods. I mean, Ace is his uncle, you know. So apparently, they don't refer to Governor Asa Hutchinson as Asa. They refer to him as Ace. I bet he likes that. I bet that was the one part of this article that Asa read. Finally, my nickname is revealed. Ace. So, the transcript, to see federal authorities, it refers to Hutchinson's uncle, now Governor Hutchinson, as Ace rather than Asa. It also misspelled the name John Woods. So the U.S. Attorney Benjamin Wolf. So Jeremy. So you understand that Jeremy could use his influence to get Woods back in line? Yes, Cranford responded, according to the FBI interview. So you wanted Jeremy, Wolf asked, to go fix it and basically go speak to Woods directly about it. Not to go to the cops, not to go to the FBI. Right, Cranford responded. But then something hilarious happened. Hilarious to me. It looks like Jeremy Hutchinson is the whole reason why this whole thing got screwed up as it did. And maybe this explains why it took so long for Jeremy Hutchinson to actually be charged with something. At some point that summer, Lisa Hammersley writes, Cranford said he traveled to Florida for several weeks with his family. First day there, Cranford was bicycling when he got a call from Jeremy Hutchinson, who said, "The FBI wants to meet with you." I said, "What?" And I pulled over on the side of the road. Hutchinson went on to tell Cranford about a client who was an FBI agent who asked if Hutchinson knew anything about John Woods. Hutchinson said he told the agent, "I don't know much. I mean, we think he's on the take. What have you? But I've got a client that could probably answer that real easy for you and give you more insight than I could." Cranford asks Jeremy, "Well, who's your client, Jeremy?" Hutchinson, "Well, I told him that you could tell me about John because he's always hanging out with Cranford's son Chase and talking to you and stuff." Cranford, "Jeremy, why in God's name would you mention my name?" Hutchinson, "Because we got a meeting set up. The FBI wants to talk to you." What a terrible answer. Like, just ignore. Oh, should I not have done that? Was that wrong? Why would you mention my name? Seems like Jeremy Hutchinson kind of got the ball rolling on this whole thing. Ah, man. Can you imagine that phone call? I mean, honestly, that phone call was like, Jeremy had to know, like, okay, I've got to get this guy to meet with the FBI, but how am I going to do it? What a big lie, that story. I don't buy any of that, by the way. Like, that just seems like, well, so, okay, man, I got this client, no big deal. He just needs to talk with you. He's an FBI agent, wants to know about John Woods. And I was like, well, Rusty Cranford knows all about John Woods because, you know, he's in on the scheme. I mean, I didn't tell him that you were in on the take or he was demanding money for you or anything like that. But I got the meeting set up. You mentioned my name. We've got a meeting set up. It's going to be fine. The Cooper and Cranford FBI transcripts, according to Lisa Hammersley, don't contain further information about why Hutchinson might have set up the FBI meeting. And that's why I'm speculating about it now. What do you guys think about the largest corruption scandal in Arkansas history or in the last 20 years? I think it's going to get pretty big. We're going to take a break. 870-275-9799. We're going to be right back with your meme of the day. Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about Conduit for Commerce. Conduit for Commerce is an Arkansas-focused nonprofit organization which receives no government funding. Its core beliefs are economic freedom, individual liberty, and limited government. Conduit for Commerce believes those principles are foundational to all individual freedoms and promotes these principles by educating Arkansans and your elected state officials concerning good government policies that will create a better life for all Arkansans. These traditional conservative values have proven throughout history to lift people from poverty, achieve individual desire, and assist in the pursuit of happiness. Conduit for Commerce operates on the basic belief that these principles and ideals of the American founding are worth conserving and renewing at each generation, especially today. Conduit for Commerce accomplishes this work only through the support and interaction of small businesses as well as individuals. Conduit for Commerce thrives from like-minded Arkansans' participation and partnership. It's only through the support of folks like you that Conduit for Commerce is able to be the conduit to the Arkansas State Capitol. Help us continue as Arkansas's primary small business policy entrepreneur through your financial support. Join us by visiting conduitforcommerce.org. Once you're at the site, click Support Our Cause at the top of your screen. Your one-time or monthly donation will directly impact Conduit for Commerce's mission to promote liberty and economic freedom in Arkansas. Together, we can build a liberty machine. That's conduitforcommerce.org.
Way on a couple of votes and still get an A. So there was just a very select few that voted with us every single time on every single bill. Because, see, some people will vote present. And so, you know, they might get 100%, but they only voted on 20 bills instead of 25. So they got 100%, 20 out of 20. Now, if you drop below 15 and you wouldn't vote on at least 15 bills, we just gave them an incomplete. So, but when I look at it a little deeper, there weren't that many that agreed with us and voted on every single bill every time. Only about half a dozen.
Yeah.
But you know what? One lawmaker, bless his heart, he got a 13% on the report card. So I don't know if I'd want to go home to mom and dad or the voters and say, I got my 13% on the family council report card.
Yeah, State Representative Charles Blake. We're looking at it right now. We're going over the list, scrolling down. We're talking with Jerry Cox, president of the Family Council. Again, it's Arkansas Report. Is that what it is? ArkansasReport.com?
ArkansasReport.com.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I'd like to, while we have you, Jerry, I would like to talk about some of these bills that, you know, we have Judge Fed.
Need your daily news fix? Don't forget to tune in to Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
All right, folks, hey, welcome back to the program. Yeah, Gene on Facebook writes, what senator refused to wear a wire for the FBI? Well, interestingly enough, Gene, that was the current president of the Senate, Jeremy Hutchinson's cousin, or the governor's nephew, the other governor's nephew. That would be Jim Hendren. Senator Jim Hendren, the Gazette reported, refused to wear a wire when John Woods tried to extort him out of money. I mean, we have John Woods trying to extort Rusty Cranford. Then John Woods tries to essentially wants money from Jim if they get put in the same district with one another, wants money from Jim not to run against him. Okay, and then Jim says he goes to authorities but didn't pursue it further. And get this, when push comes to shove, Senator Hendren and the rest of the establishment supported John Woods in his re-election campaign, supported him over the conservative alternative that was running at that time. Now, I mean, knowing all of that, what does that say about, you know, people want to say, well, we'll put up this new ethics legislation. We'll do new ethics legislation. We'll police each other. We'll tell on each other. The guy heading that up, Senator Hendren, who was heading that up, refused to wear a wire for the FBI to try to stop John Woods, and then supported his re-election. I mean that. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Here's our meme of the day, by the way. The Ocasio Gangsta You know that nap that you take when you're scheduled to testify against the Clintons? It's the one where they put a little tag on your toe. We'll post it for those of you to see. Conduit News, at Conduit News on Twitter and Facebook. Have a great day, Arkansas.